We gather in Mi'kma'ki, the ancestral home of the Mi'kmaq people, where we now gather, generations gathered long before Europeans landed on these shores. The original inhabitants of this land, known to some indigenous peoples as Turtle Island, took seriously the Creator's call to be stewards of air, land, water, and creature. This morning, we pray our thanks for their conservancy. We exist in this place because of the lessons they taught and continue to teach. Let us come before the Creating One as we offer prayers, hear holy story, and sing sacred songs. Let us unite our hearts in prayer. We pray our thanks for the opportunity to gather in this sacred space. Here we are most aware of the gift of wind, of sun, of humanity, of creation, and the four directions which support our living, our breathing, and our being. This day, we pray thanksgiving for the First Nations, Inuit, and Métis peoples of Canada, and we commit ourselves to be people of reconciliation in the tradition of our beloved Jesus. Amen. Wow, that's all I can say. We need to be reminded that justice is the cornerstone of divine love. Therefore, this day, as we reflect on the need for reconciliation between Indigenous and non-Indigenous people, let us hear a reflection on the psalmist's words. It is all of our prayer that justice flourish and peace abound. A prayer based on Psalm 72. May those in positions of power use it wisely. May they walk the path of righteousness. May they defend the cause of those who have no voice. May they give strength to the weak and call for an end to violence and oppression. By their actions, may the nations be blessed and the peoples of the earth flourish. The author of Matthew's Gospel speaks of reconciliation and the need for it before we make an offering. In other words, before we give to God what is sacred to us, the gift needs to be given with integrity. I invite you to hear these ancient words, and may they wash over you and reside in your heart and spirit. You have heard it said of those in ancient times, you shall not murder, and whoever murders shall be liable to judgment. But I say to you, if you are angry with another, you will be liable to judgment. If you insult another, you will be liable to the council. If you say, you fool, you will be liable to the fires of hell. So, when you are offering your gift at the altar, if you remember that someone has something against you, leave your gift there before the altar and go. First, be reconciled to them, and then come and offer your gift. folks that if you are comfortable, we are separated by 6 feet, and you're welcome to take your masks down, unless we are singing. And if we're singing, you need to put them back up. Let us unite our hearts in prayer. We have listened to the words of our ancestors. We have sung songs of hope and promise. Open now our hearts and minds that we might hear what Spirit is saying to us in this time and in this place. And may the words of my mouth and the meditations of all our hearts be acceptable this day. Amen. One of the calls to action that were outlined in the Commission for Truth and Reconciliation in their report called upon the Government of Canada, along with and in consultation with the Aboriginal peoples, to establish a statutory holiday, a National Day of Truth and Reconciliation. The purpose of such a day was to honor the survivors, their families, and the communities affected by colonialism, and in particular the residential school system. It was also to mark this day so that it would be kept in sight of all of us as a vital part of the reconciliation process. This year, our government has named September the 30th as that day of truth and reconciliation. As such, this facility and all its programming will be stopped for the day. There will be nobody in the office. There will be no programs happening. You are invited instead to join with our siblings in the Millbrook First Nation at 11 o'clock Thursday morning at the Community Hall, where we will walk to the powwow grounds, and there will be guest speakers, dancers, and drummers. It will be an opportunity for us to stand beside our siblings, to walk in solidarity, to listen, to grow, to change. Reconciliation is a bit of a buzzword these days, and as such, it can lose its meaning. Sometimes, as with other words that we throw about, we say them and we don't always stop and take a moment and think about what exactly those words mean. For those of us who claim to be followers of Jesus, we also need to stop and think about what reconciliation means from the perspective of faith, from the gospel of Jesus. And according to the author of Matthew's gospel, Jesus clearly outlines and defines what reconciliation is. If you have something against your sibling, anyone, leave the altar, go and seek reconciliation with them before you can return and offer your gifts at the altar. And reconciliation is the key to relationships that are respectful and mutual, where all parties in the relationship are valued. And only when we reach that goal of equality and mutual respect and understanding, are we able to come to the altar and offer our gifts with integrity. So ultimately, when we recognize that there is a conflict of any sort, it is our responsibility as disciples of Jesus to go immediately and reconcile. To enter into a place of seeking restoration for that relationship. Now, the key to any kind of reconciliation is, of course, that the wounds that have been caused need to heal. And that takes time and patience for all involved. But seeking reconciliation manifests the divine realm in this time and place. Now, we who are here, we come as followers of Jesus. At least we claim to be, assuming most of us are claiming to be followers of Jesus, if we're here in one way or another. And yet, we come to this place and our indigenous siblings have something against us. We have, in the name of Christianity, caused great atrocity to a people. Some would suggest the word genocide is actually the appropriate word to use. And so if we are truly following in the footsteps of Jesus, the call of the gospel, then it is incumbent upon us to be reconciled with them. And when we do, we can then, with integrity, be again at the altar. Now, reconciliation isn't easy because it requires, first of all, a shifting in power dynamics. We can't reconcile with someone that we do not see as our equal. We work towards reconciliation when we listen to the other, when we respect the other's place, where we learn from them. It requires sharing a space and standing on common ground. Now, as members of the United Church of Canada, we have been trying for many, many years to live into that place of reconciliation. It started when we offered our first apology in the 80s. But an apology is not reconciliation, and our indigenous siblings reminded us of that when we first offered it. They said, "Thank you very much, but words are not enough. Your words must translate into action, and so we will wait and see." And so they have. But an apology is an important part, a first step in the process. Now, that apology has been lived into in many different ways at the national level in our denomination. We have the All Native Circle Conference was established as we covenanted to listen and to learn from our Aboriginal brothers and sisters, to hear their voice and wisdom and walk with them in solidarity. We have put money behind our words. The Healing Fund is a continuing fund that exists within the United Church of Canada that is used for education and healing, hoping to, again, create that space where we stand side by side, truly and completely. But what have we done here at First United? What have we done to live into the apology of our denomination? What have we done to reach out to and learn from the members of the Millbrook First Nation, which is the Indigenous community in our area? Can't think of anything? Neither can I. We haven't really stepped outside of our comfort zone. So, how do we? Well, I think the starting point is education. To garner an understanding of what European culture has done to undermine and bring harm to the first peoples of this land. Education is a key to knowledge and understanding, and only when we understand can we effectively work to change our behaviors. And there are all kinds of resources at our disposal to help us in that journey. When you received your bulletin this week, either by mail or through email, at the end of the bulletin there was a list of books that you might consider reading as a starting point, offering different perspectives and understandings about the effect of colonialism on the first peoples of this land. There are also some email or internet resources listed there as well. Another place would be to actually look at the Truth and Reconciliation Report. There are 94 calls to action in that report. As you read them, ask the question, how many have we actually fulfilled? What can we do to help in that process? Then after reading and researching and having conversation and dialogue, I think we need to listen and engage. The members of the First Nations community here in our own town. As a congregation, we should be attempting to build bridges between our two communities, to come to a place of standing on common ground and reconciling one to the other. Thursday at 11 o'clock would be a good place to start. Millbrook First Nation has invited us to be with them. Only when we actually come together, when we enter into that space of listening, engaging, and being, can we really be reconciled one to the other. And Jesus said, it's not, well, if you feel like it. If you don't have too much to do today, if you can fit it into your agenda, Jesus said, if there is conflict, division, we're allowed to have diversity. Anything between you and another, you must leave the altar, go immediately and reconcile. And only then can you come back with integrity to walk the path of Jesus. Now, none of this can happen overnight. And nobody expects that it will. But it must happen. If we are to move forward as a people who truly reflect divine light and love in the world around us. This is your challenge. This is my challenge. This is our challenge. May it be so. Let us unite our hearts in prayer. We gather this day mindful of the blessings we have. Blessed to be on this land, to have neighbors as diverse as creation. We are surrounded by the holy in the air we breathe, the water we drink, the plants and animals that delight and sustain us, and we raise our voices in praise and thanksgiving. Today we give particular thanks for our Indigenous siblings, but we also lament. We lament the historic and contemporary racism that exists in our society. We lament the role that our church has played in colonization and genocide of a people. We lament apathy in the face of the need for change that recognizes First Nations peoples and their sovereignty. May our hearts be open and our beings strengthened, that we might work for what is just and right. May we listen more, speak less, and open doors that lead to new understandings, a new way of being, that reflects the dream of Jesus. As gathered community, we unite our energy with the energy of the universe. We hold in our hearts and place into divine love all who are worn down by systemic racism and suffering the injustice that comes with this. The survivors and families of residential schools, those living in places without clean water, the families of missing and murdered Indigenous women and children, all who are suffering injustices of any sort. Those who walk through the valley of the shadow of death. Those who grieve. Those who are sick in body, mind, or spirit. All of this, and the many things that remain silent on our hearts, we bring and pray for healing, hope, reconciliation, forgiveness, justice, love, grace. We pray all of it in the name of our brother Jesus. And in the words he gave his disciples so very long ago, we unite our voice as one to pray. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, power, and glory, forever and ever. Amen. And just sit down for a second. Before we head out into the marketplace, which is our mission field, I would draw your attention to several announcements. You would have received these in your email or in the mail out that you got earlier in the week. But just to highlight some for you, reminder that the film group takes place Tuesday morning at 10 o'clock in the parlor. And thanks to Pat McLeod for continuing that. And to Roger, who was very well prepared. And so he actually had the fall film study already chosen, as well as the winter one. So we continue with his ministry in that way. Starting on Wednesday, October the 6th, again at 10 a.m. in the parlor, a new look at prayer. And we give thanks to Jennifer Jordan, who's going to be leading that session. If you would like to be a part of that, please just call the church office and register. Also, today after church, our second session of Testing the Tunes. Our third will be on October the 3rd. So you're invited, if you're able, to come over and join us. We have lunch, and we are going to test some of the tunes that Chris and I have written over the last 10 years in hopes of narrowing our 60 or so down to 25 that we might be able to submit for the new United Church Music Resource. And on this coming Wednesday, and then again on October the 6th, we continue with our conversations in the hall. Last week we talked about what is the message of Jesus, and this week we're going to talk about how far we have strayed. So if you didn't make it to the first, but you would like to take part in those, please just let us know so that we can make sure we have the appropriate groups and spaces set up. So that's Wednesday evening at 7 o'clock in the church hall.
I'm going to put my Cantabile hat on for a moment and invite you to a concert next Sunday. For the first time in 18 months, Cantabile is going to be able to perform, and we're going to be across the street underneath the canopy of the farmer's market. So if you are interested in coming and joining us, please speak to me or a member of the choir for tickets to that. I do hope to see you there. We're very excited to be able to sing again.
Good morning, friends. It's also 18 months since our men's fellowship group has met, and we're going to try to see who's still interested and who would come. And that will be October 5th. And I would ask, because of COVID restrictions, that we're limited in numbers, and that would be wonderful if we had more people than were allowed, but we'll wait and see. So October 5th, excuse me if I said something else, we'll meet in the parlor at 10 o'clock, and I would ask you to call Tracy to tell her we will be coming so we can make sure we don't run over. Thank you very much.
So it's 10 o'clock on the 5th, men's fellowship. Does that include lunch again, or are you?
That's in process.
In process, okay. So for now, men's fellowship, October the 5th, 10 a.m. in the parlor. Please call to register for that. And finally, just a reminder as you go out for the invitation on September the 30th to gather at the community hall in Millbrook at 11 o'clock. And we will proceed to the powwow grounds, and there will be prayer, guest speaker, and dancers and drummers. So please mark your calendar for that. And now, as we prepare to leave this place, may we open our hearts to the way of love, that divine light might shine in us. May we walk with integrity and set before us all that is good. May we speak the truth and sing of loyalty and justice. May we confront the evil that exists in our world, give voice to the voiceless, and work diligently for justice in this land.